Hello, I'd love you to join me for a very special Life of Bryony live show on Wednesday, May the 21st at the Business Design Centre in London. I'll be joined on stage by the brilliant Helen Flanagan to talk about OCD, motherhood and self-worth. And we'll no doubt be doling out some hugs too. Tickets are on sale now at aegpresents.co.uk. That's aegpresents.co.uk. Just go and search for Life of Bryony Live. And I hope to see you there. Welcome to the Life of Bryony. Now, how well do you think you know Vogue Williams? She is, after all, one of the country's most successful podcasters. You'll probably know her from My Therapist Ghosted Me, and you're no doubt following her on Instagram, where she documents her life with her kids and her husband, Spencer Matthews, in all its chaotic glory. But on today's episode of Life of Bryony, Vogue is showing me a side of herself that we've never seen before.
Because I remember I was divorced at 31 and I was like, basically that's it. I've ruined my life. I'm never going to have kids. I'm never going to do what I always wanted to do. And then you see how your life actually starts to unfold. And that's why I think it's exciting to move into your 40s.
My conversation with Vogue Williams coming up right after this. Vogue Williams, I read your book, Big Mouth, and I absolutely fucking loved it. So,
Yes.
Because the thing is, lots of like celebrities write autobiographies and often not very much happens in it, and you're like, oh bloody hell, this was getting blood from a stone. I could have carried on reading that. I wanted double. I wanted more.
I can't believe you read it before this interview. I think that's so
Why wouldn't I read it?
I don't know, it's just really nice and professional.
No, it's because also
You could have just got notes.
I know, but like writing books as well, I know that you really know when someone hasn't read your book and they invite you in for a podcast or something or an interview. I felt a bit nervous this morning because I'm like, Vogue Williams is coming in and she's the queen of podcasts and I am but a humble peasant in the podcast world.
Humble peasant.
And I was just so excited to meet you. And I do think, okay, so having read the book, I do think that we are meant to be bestest friends.
Yes.
And also like that maybe you are my sister from another mister, because I have to I'm sorry, I don't want to take Joanne's place or anything like that. Like when I tell you this, you're going to be like, whoa, like this is, okay, so this is not maybe so whoa. Like we both love Dr. Dre 2001. That's
unbelievable. Every song.
We both have little Naomis and big Naomis in our family.
Do you?
Yes.
How does Big Naomi feel? Because little Naomi's the one who gets annoyed in my family. And I'm like, how do you think Big Naomi feels?
Little Naomi is your is
She's my cousin.
your cousin, and Big Naomi is your aunt.
Big Naomi's
who
my aunt.
used to be your teacher.
Yeah, poor Big Naomi.
Okay, so then also we were both absolute caners in our teens, and 20s, like both occasionally would go straight to work from a night out, and also both of our first weddings were absolute fucking chaos.
Oh, you've been married twice?
No, I've only been married once.
Oh.
I'm still married. So maybe
wow,
there
well
will
done.
be a second wedding.
You never
But
know.
like my first wedding, because I was still drinking and using, ended. My husband was like passed out and I basically was sat up taking cocaine and watching porn. I've written about this. And when I read about your first wedding, can you just tell us a bit about your first wedding? The black eye.
Oh, no.
Chin.
Black lip. I basically got really drunk. My mum said that as well. She was like, there's a lot of drinking in this book. And actually, I don't drink that much. I've never liked the taste of alcohol. And like, no one invites me to the pub. If someone invites me to the pub, I'm like, do you actually even know me? Like, no one invites me to the pub. But when you put all these funny stories together, a lot of them involve drinking. But the first wedding, yeah, I mean, it just wasn't great. It was beautiful on paper, like just amazing on paper. But I was very young. I think, what age were you when you got married?
I mean, I don't have youth as an excuse. I was like 32.
You see, I was 26.
Yeah, you do.
It's too young. I think, no offense to anyone who gets married when they're 26 and it works out for them. I wasn't mature enough. Like in school, I wanted to skip fourth year. Like you're allowed to skip fourth year when you're 16 because it's like transition year. So you're doing things like making pretend dresses and stuff like that. And I wanted to skip and they were like, sorry, no, you're way too immature. You can't skip. So by the time I was 26, I definitely wasn't in a position to get married, but I did, and like I was in love at the time. Like I'm not going to take that away from it, but I got really drunk on the night before the wedding, 2 nights before the wedding, and I basically had gone home and was giving out about anything I could give out about, and then I slipped on a plastic bag, and I landed basically on my face and my wrists. So my wrists had caught the fall a little bit. Thank God, I could have lost teeth, and I woke up the next day and I was like, you know, when you wake up and you're just like, and I was like, why does my face feel so weird? And yeah, I woke up and I had a full, like, massive lip, all black under my chin, black wrists, and my poor best friend Ashley was so excited to be doing my makeup for the wedding because it was going in Hello magazine, it was going in OK magazine.
A big thing for her.
It was a massive thing for her. And she walked in, and I remember her being like, yeah, it's fine. Honestly, it's okay. And then off she went to Mac to get tattoo makeup. And because she had come in and reassured me, I was like, oh, it's grand. Who cares? It's fine. But then she had to keep fixing my makeup the whole time, the whole day. So yeah.
I love the story about the best man not showing up because he'd like gone on a bender. And that felt very, I mean, I know this is not a book about the best man. I don't even know who the best man was. But I felt that
you know.
Oh, okay. That's quite
He's a really funny guy. He's really funny, but he's massively like famous in Australia.
Okay.
Hugely famous. And he works in a radio station, and he basically had been, this was like an ongoing thing for like 8 months before the wedding about how he was the best man and how he was going to be brilliant at the wedding and all the things he was planning for the wedding. And then he arrived, but didn't arrive. Right. I was like, oh my God, you know, when there's just like, everything kind of starts just falling. It was like, oh, this is not great. This isn't great.
I definitely once went on a bender and didn't go to a wedding.
Stop, really?
And I pretended I had food poisoning, and I feel terrible, and I do owe those people an amends. But they were also like 25 when they were getting married, and I was like, I'm not mature enough. Like, forget about getting married at 26, Vogue. I was not mature enough at 26 to be going to people's weddings.
To attend it. I remember my brother couldn't make the first wedding because he was living in Australia. I mean, it was a bit lazy on his part, and he just said to me, he was like, I'll go to the next one. And I was like, really deeply offended by it. And then he actually did go to the next one. So it worked out well.
So, and one last thing that we have in common is that we basically have the same surname. Because your actual surname is Wilson, is it not?
Williams.
No, Williams, but in the book.
So my real surname is Williams.
Yeah.
Changed it to Wilson.
Yeah.
But I still use Williams.
No, I know, but I was quite surprised in there when I read that you have like because it was your stepdad's.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I'm like, I know your name is not Babe Wilson, by the way, just in case.
Babe Wilson was great in the pod, wasn't she?
I know your name is Vogue Williams.
So is your name Bryony?
So my married name is Wilson.
How come you didn't use the married name?
I like my husband. He's really nice and everything. But I don't want to, I'm not like, it's a bit weird taking your other half's name.
It's a lot of admin. It's a lot of that. But my stepdad looks after all my finances and stuff. So, and he like, if my passport goes out of date, he gets me a new passport. So I was thinking I could do something nice for Spencer and just like change my passport and bank card. And then I was like, I'm not doing it. And now that Neil's on board, I'm like, maybe I will do it. He'll have it done in a day.
So that was what, like, so I feel like we've got a lot in common and we should be best friends.
I would love to be best friends with you.
It's a bit of a weird. I'm like, the producer's looking at me like, Bryony, you've never basically tried to date someone who's come on the podcast.
I love having nice friends in London.
We also live really close to each other.
Oh my God, we could go running together. Yeah. I'm crap.
No, well, hello.
How crap are you though?
I'm really slow.
Like, what's your pace?
Like, it takes me a good few hours to run a 5K. No, I'm joking. It takes me about 38 minutes to run.
I'll do that with you. No
I'm really
problem.
Slow.
I love that.
Anyway, in all seriousness, I love this book, and that thing I relate to most is using humour as a way, often to kind of like deal with quite like dark stuff, because there's a lot of fun in here, and there's a lot of great stories of like a life that's been properly lived.
Yeah.
But it's also really moving.
There's parts, you see, the thing about it is, like, I do, with the book, I think people think that I'm just talking about stuff that I've spoken about before, but I think I just wanted to go deeper with this and talk about grief and anxiety and all those kind of things that, like, lots of us are going through. But I don't really have a platform where I would talk about those kind of things. You know what I mean? Because when I do my podcasts, they're all just meant to be like funny and light, and we just, not that we wouldn't go into anything deep, but like you kind of make light of things. Like I make jokes about things that are difficult a lot of the time, but I kind of just let it flow in there. But also I didn't want people, like I want people to take that book to the beach in the summer and like read it on the beach and be able to laugh. And I read Lou Sandra's book actually when I was writing my book, and I loved that about her book as well. Like she's a comedian, and although she was saying loads of dark stuff, she was actually really funny as well.
Yeah, it's very much like laughing 1 minute, crying the next minute, your book.
When I was in doing the audio, also, by the way, do you not hate yourself after you write a book? Honestly, I didn't want to look at I was like, I can't believe, because when I was doing the editing, I was like, I'm going to have read this book 4 times.
Yeah, that is. But the other thing is you actually wrote it, which is quite unusual for a celebrity. I've heard. I've heard that lots of them don't. Lots of people don't. They get ghostwriters, and you were like, no, I'm doing this myself.
Yeah, I love writing. I've always written, whether I'm doing like an article for something or anything like that, and I really enjoy the writing process. And for me, I just wanted it to be in my voice. I wanted it to be exactly the way things like process, even in my mind. And I think that anyone reading it will know that I've written it as well. And it's such a sense of achievement to finish it, because I actually got the deal in September, but I needed to hand it in by February, but I finished it in January because I just became obsessed. I just loved doing it. It's the only time that my mind switched off, because my mind never it's so noisy in there all the time. But when I was writing, it was just calm, and it was I found a real joy in writing from doing that book.
I mean, you can really tell that it's a passion project.
Yeah, big time.
But like there is a tenderness to it. That was what I was thinking last night when I finished it. I was thinking there's a real kind of, I think that the humour in it, and that you don't take yourself too seriously, but you do take the things that need to be taken seriously, if that makes sense.
Yeah. For definite.
So can we talk about your dad? Because I feel like we've been having like loads of like fun, and now I'm like, can we talk about
Let's bring up the dead dad.
The dead dad. I mean, there's that bit where you write. Sometimes your brain's just going dead dad in your head.
Oh, it's the perfume.
Oh yeah,
poor Joe Malone. Now this is because no, I'm not poor Joe Malone.
Your aunt.
Loaded Joe Malone.
Yeah, she's fine.
She's grand. So my auntie Sharon, we call her Triple Wick Sharon, because she has these really huge Joe Malone candles all around her house. And when he died, he was laid out. Is that the way you say it? In her house, in a bed just off the kitchen, and she had these Joe Malone candles, the pomegranate noir lighting, and all I think of and I have a bottle of it at home, because I feel like it was really, I felt like I'd kind of come to terms with his death when I started like spraying it the odd time and being like wearing Dead Dad, but me and Amber would smell it off people because it's really popular. We'd be like, oh Jesus, she's wearing Dead Dad, do you smell it?
It's quite triggering.
Yeah, just because we were so used to that smell over that weekend, and everything feels so vivid when you're going through a time like that. But
I mean, you and Amber, your sister, you stayed with him the whole time that weekend. Like you sat up until 3 a.m, or didn't you like fall asleep?
Well, yeah. So in Ireland, it's really quick. By the way, he was dead on Friday morning, buried on Sunday. Like we do it quick. You guys
withdraw it out.
You like to hang on to those bods. We're done. But no. So we are like, it's a very boozy affair. A funeral in Ireland. Like funerals in Ireland are a lot of fun. Like obviously they're very sad, but like it's a real party. It's a real, like you're sending someone off, like it's a great time, you're remembering them. And so we're having drinks in Sharon's house, and we were like, we better stay with him, we don't want to leave him on his own. And we'd had a few drinks, and so we fell asleep, and then I woke up at like 3 a.m, and I was like, oh my god, Amber, we have to go. I was like, I can't be here, there's a body in the room.
Yeah, that's like a hangover.
Yeah, we were like, what were we thinking? But with the stuff that I wrote about him, there's certain parts in the book that I took breaks. So I took breaks from that because it did feel heavy. But when I was doing the audio record, my God, the poor guy in there. So basically we were recording the audio, and it got to my dad bit, and I wasn't expecting to cry, and I started crying, and I was like, I'm really sorry. And then I was like, can we just skip this bit? And then I got a call that my dog was sick. So then I burst out crying again. And this guy was like, he just met me. I was like, I'm actually not usually like this. And I had to leave bawling, crying because I thought my dog was then dead. So it was an interesting time recording that.
The dog was okay.
Yeah, he was.
Winston?
Winston's so old. I thought because he was getting groomed and he collapsed and I thought he was dead. And I was cycling through Soho, bawling, crying on the bike, like tears going down my eyes, like, "Ah!" And I was like, if anyone sees me, they'll just say, Spencer and Vogue are getting divorced. I was like, and it's nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's Winston.
Yeah, it's Winston. It's not always about that.
But that's understandable. Like I felt quite. Let's talk about yourself. Your parents got divorced when you were quite young.
Yeah, when I was around, I'd say 6 or 7.
And that was actually, so we're talking like early 90s?
Yeah, early 90s. But this is when like divorce was so frowned upon in Ireland. When divorce went through in Ireland, I think it was like 51% to 49%. So 49% of the country believed that if you married somebody, you had to stay married to them for the rest of your life, no matter what was going on, which is completely wild. And
that only changed in the early 90s. I mean, it only became legal to actually get divorced.
Yeah. And so my mum, they'd been separated, I think. They weren't living together. And then they got divorced. But I remember sitting in church with my mom. I wrote about it in the book. And the priest started talking about how wrong second marriages are and how it's a sin to be in a second marriage because of all the divorce stuff that was going on. And my mom just said, come on, we're leaving. And so we left the church. And then she was like, I'm not going back there. If you want to go back to Mass, you are more than welcome to go back, but I won't be going again. After they said that, I mean, we were thrilled because I don't know if you've been to Mass. It's not that much fun. So we were like, no, Mom, we're standing with you.
So, yes, but that was, I mean, you write about in the book how it was like that sort of weird sense of kind of shame that seems bonkers now.
Like, it's just so wild.
So you were living in, now let me get this, not pronounce this right, because my husband used to live here in this place. There's another reason. Yeah. And he took me there and we went swimming. He couldn't get us into the fish and chip restaurant, but there was another one he took me to. And he's like, you pronounce it how
Howth? You've been to Howth?
Howth, yeah.
I'm
like, Howth. He's like, no, Bryony.
Everyone says that. No, Howth.
So you were living in Howth?
No, so I grew up kind of in Portmarnock till I was 7. And
then you went, look, Sutton?
Sutton, which is only the road to Howth. Sorry to anyone who lives in Sutton, but it's true because Howth is so amazing. And then I moved to Howth when I was probably about 8. But it's funny because I'm always a blow-in. I'll always be a blow-in to Howth because I wasn't actually born there and I wasn't brought up there. But Howth is kind of like, it's a peninsula, and anyone who lives there is so obsessed with Howth, like unusually obsessed. It's just a really fun place to live.
It's beautiful.
It's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it?
You write about the sort of quite chaotic childhood, you know, like in the pub with your dad. I mean, you're very respectful of your father.
Yeah.
And how you talk about he liked to drink.
Yeah. Well, he died of fun. I said he died of fun. Yeah.
I mean, can you talk a bit about what his?
I think I like to say that he was fond of the drink. I mean, I don't think that it affected us in any certain way, because when my parents broke up, we were really lucky that like my dad just didn't disappear from our lives. Like, he wanted to spend time with us. He wanted to be with us. And it was really, really evident to us that he wanted to. And he had Wednesdays and every second weekend, and he'd never ever missed them. And any extra day that he could have when we were younger, he would have taken. He used to come to the school gates and like we'd be playing it in the playground and he'd bring us a brunch and Snickers and just give it to us when we were in the playground, and all the other kids would be like, that's just so unfair, and we'd be thrilled. So he was always around like that, but he drank to excess, but not like he wasn't waking up in the morning and drinking or anything like that. But like in my childhood, I'm finding a lot of people, and it's mainly people in the UK, that are like, that's very strange that you spent so much time in the pub. But like, I wasn't the only child in the pub. The pub was like full of us. Like, we all went with our parents and like playing games with beer mats and collecting beer mats, and like we would be sent off to the pier, like where we'd have a fishing rod and we'd go to the carnival around the corner. So we weren't just sitting in a pub all the time, but it's very much where our family would kind of chill. Like my dad's family, my dad's side of the family, like his grandparents would have always gone to the pub. You go to the pub for your lunch. That's just the way it was. And it's not a very done thing over here.
Well, I think it's also quite like a 90s thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
like there's a lot
maybe.
of things like it was what struck me reading the book is that when you talk about your childhood and that period, and I always think when I think about like the 90s, I'm like it was just yesterday. And obviously and like put it into stark relief. You're reading a book of like, no, it was quite a long time ago and things really have changed.
I mean, even think about like kids' car seats. We used to fight over the back window. So we would want to just sit in the back, like someone was hanging off the exhaust.
We would go in the boot.
Yeah.
The boot was like, sure.
Yeah, your car would be just full of kids. It wouldn't matter. There could be two of you in the front seat. That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
It's so different now, but I think everything is so different. Even like with regards to the things that I take my kids to do. Like this weekend, we're swimming, we're at gymnastics. We had 2 kids' party. We went to Legoland. Like, we didn't do stuff like that.
They have like a busy social life.
I know, it's exhausting. It's like when Monday comes, I'm like, yes, it's Monday. Yes.
Fond of a drink.
Loved smoking. I never remember him doing any exercise. He used to smoke in the dark. I know this is terrible, but like he would literally smoke and he'd kind of just aim his ash because there'd be an ashtray beside his bed, but he'd just aim it because he'd be in the dark. I felt like he was always awake as well. So when I'd sneak in, like I could go on one stairs and he'd be like, Vogue. And I'd be like, oh no.
But that had an impact on his health.
Big time.
Yeah.
He was always sick. I think as well, writing this book, I feel like I learned a lot about myself and like even with regards to anxiety, where that might have come from, because I always assumed it had come on in my 20s.
Yeah.
But actually writing everything down and like having a dad that was sick all the time because his health was always bad, but like he was always in hospital. So it was always, it wasn't just like something small, it would have always been something big. So the first time going in to see him in hospital, I think I was 11 or 12 and he's just hooked up to all these machines and it's difficult to have that when you're growing up, but it was kind of all the time. Like we were always in and out of hospital with him.
So he'd had like a heart
He had
issue?
2 heart attacks in 2 days that time, and then he had a triple bypass. He was always having stents in and out of his legs and stuff like that, and then he had a stroke, and so there was always something.
And do you think that is, I mean, it would make sense that was
Yeah.
the sort of root of panic attacks and anxiety?
I think that was just because it was such a stress, and I probably didn't realize it was such a stress, and like it's the unknown, really, isn't it? So like we never really knew what was going to happen, and like we're lucky that he lived till the age that he did live. But like the thing about him is he'd never have changed his life, and he didn't want to. Like he loved life. He was so much fun. He was always the life and soul of the party. He knew everyone everywhere we went. Everyone always knew him. And I think he enjoyed his life to the full. I wish he'd had longer. He would have wished he'd had longer. But I mean, he was once caught smoking out the window of the hospital, like after a heart attack. I'm like, Dad, seriously.
So you were in your early 20s.
Early 20s when he died. Yeah.
And you were it was the day that this reality show that you had got a part in, what was it called? Fade Street.
Fade Street, yeah. So that aired on the Thursday night and he died on the Friday morning.
You were the kind of next of kin, weren't you?
My Auntie Sharon's great. She's kind of, I think as well, when he died, because we're a very close family and I'm very close with everyone on my mum's side as well. Like we're just always around each other. We love spending time with each other. Like I love spending as much time with my mum as I can. But my Auntie Sharon, I felt like when my dad died, like because it's so much further away, like all my other aunts are in Howth and stuff like that, where I live, and that was a concern that like maybe we wouldn't be as close anymore. But she just kind of held the family together. She's always organising different things for the family, and she very much took control of the funeral. I wouldn't have known what to do.
Before he died, he'd obviously been quite unwell and you were having to go into the hospital and there were decisions about operations and things like that. Yeah,
his final operation definitely was, so we're all sitting in there, me, my sister, my auntie and his brother and him, and we were sitting there, and he could have had the operation, but it was like a 50-50 chance. It was a very dangerous operation because of his health otherwise. But if he hadn't have had the operation, he had an aneurysm in his stomach.
Yeah.
And if that burst, we were basically told it would be a really painful, awful death, and it could happen when he's on his own. So we just didn't want that.
But that's a lot to have to deal with in your early 20s.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was.
Well, it's a lot to have to deal with actually at any age.
Yeah, but I suppose because we'd had so much of that kind of stuff where there was something I wrote in the book about when he nearly lost his leg and having to make decisions around that. And there was always kind of something, but like, I actually always just feel sorry for him because his leg was always at him. His leg was always painful because the circulation was so bad. And I think as difficult as it was for us, it was way worse for him.
Reading about your anxiety towards the end of the book, it kind of, and I think this sounds like such a weird thing to say, given I talk about mental health so often and I know how it works.
Yeah.
And it isn't obvious, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is another thing that really I found really relatable, was that obviously a lot of, you feel sort of in terror quite a lot of the time, and yet you wouldn't know it to meet you. And I get that a lot of time where people, when I tell them I wake up and my first thought is kind of like, oh my God, Bryony, go back to bed. Everyone hates you. Everything you're supposed to do today is like, you shouldn't do it. Like my brain is just like,
Yeah.
They're like, really?
Yeah.
And you talk so sort of eloquently about anxiety and panic attacks. And
it's just like, the only way to describe it is it's so annoying, isn't it? It's just this thing in your life that you're just like, just go away. And it's sometimes it's fine, sometimes it's a lot worse. But I kind of like, I wake up and I just like, I'm really conscious of any mood I could be in. To be honest with you, I'm usually quite good in the morning. But that's why I don't really drink very much now, because that's something for me that's a huge trigger with my anxiety. And that's why I try to, I don't really like drinking to excess anymore. I don't like going to bed late because that like really fires it up. And I do try and think of things like running is great for me with anxiety. Riding was so nice for me with anxiety. Like, it was so nice because it just calmed me, my dogs at my feet, and just being in the moment of just focusing on one thing. But I find it, the annoying thing about it is it's not something you can get rid of. I think it's just something that you manage from day to day. Like, I don't actually currently take tablets for it, but I'll always have them. Like, I always have them in the press at home.
Like beta blockers.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll always have them in the cupboard, but I don't always take them. So it's kind of rare at the moment now. It depends what's happening in my life, really. And it's not usually to do with things it's kind of the outside noise of my job, really. And it's to do with kind of other people that stress me out a little bit like that. But I think I've got to really, like, my family, you'll read it in the book, they're just so important to me, all of them. And they're just, my friends are so important to me. I have friends since I was like, my best friends are the girls since I was 12. And I have a good group of people around me. I'm very careful of who I spend my time at now, because you can kind of see through certain people. I don't know if you have it, but in this industry, like, certain people are just very much out for themselves. And even the way they portray themselves isn't true. It's not actually who they are.
Yeah.
And like, I see it and I'm like, that is bullshit. But
see it
like,
miles off.
Yeah.
But not everyone else does, and that can be like,
no, not everyone else does. But like, everyone should just be whoever they feel like they want to be or whatever. I just kind of steer clear of it now.
But you speaking of this, like, I can see how the world we live in now, which is very kind of like social media, and people talk absolute bollocks the whole time and sort of gossip, and you and Spencer have become this like love. I think one of the lovely things, and when I interviewed him last year when he did the 30 marathons in 30 days in the Sahara, it was like, what I think people get behind is seeing that sort of journey of people that have perhaps been a little bit lost, and I think definitely you also kind of, like the sort of slightly crazy, and then you kind of came together and you've created this quite lovely life, and I think we kind of love it. But what does come with that is like the sort of shit and the noise and made up bollocks, basically.
Yeah. I think, do you know what? I think that we live in a world now where it's possible for people to just literally, any random person can just have a thought in their head and say, I'm going to say that about that person, and I'm going to push that around, and I'm going to try and make that a thing. And it's like, what do? You just bat off constant rumours and crap that isn't true, or do you just let it go over your head? And we just take the route mainly of just letting it go over our head, because I heard something the other day and I was like, and it was about this guy, and it was my third time meeting him. Like, I'd know his partner a little bit. It was my third time meeting him. And he kind of did that thing where, like, you know, when someone doesn't really want to say hello to you, but like, I didn't really either because I didn't know him, but then we caught eyes, so we had to. And then I heard something that he'd been saying about me, and I'm like, where would I've met, and when I say I've met him to say hello, and I'm like, and now he's probably going around saying that to loads of people like it's gospel, yet he doesn't know anything about me, like nothing. And I just find it, like, you have that whole be kind thing, and it's just, it fascinates me that no one wants that. People just, like, I actually have a lovely Instagram following, I have to say.
Yeah,
that's why I like, it's so supportive and so nice. And even with, like, I did a front cover of something that I was like really happy with the other day.
Oh my God. Yeah. The
Times.
Yeah.
And just everyone just being so nice and supportive and really good around that. And even people with my book, just being really nice. So it just makes me feel like at least I have a really great group of people around. There's always going to be people that, like, want to spread rumours, spread gossip, spread anything about anyone, and you just have to leave them to it. Like, I told this story on mine and Joanne's podcast about this girl, and I know her at home, and she's an influencer, and basically she spent a year trying to find out who a certain group of people were that were, like, attacking her and abusing her really badly online. And she found them. She found 4 of them, 4 women, and she was like, if you don't come and meet me, I'm going to out you and say that you're the ones that have been writing all this stuff.
You're the
and they went and meet her, and they were all crying and really sorry about it, and they're with their husbands, and they've got these really good jobs and stuff, like, just like, they're not just sitting at home doing it. One of them had 14 accounts, so she was writing one thing about her and then responding off another account and responding off another account, so it looked like this group of people were chatting about it, but it was actually one person. And when I heard that, I was like, whoa, like, that's actually what some of it is. So you just have to ignore it and be like, do you know what, I'm actually, like, I have a great family, I'm happy at the moment, and I don't need to be worried about what anyone else is saying. No,
I agree. And I think also the great thing about this book is that there is such honesty in it, and you do just go there. You just fucking go there. But you don't throw anyone under the bus.
No, I don't.
That's really crucial. Like, and I think that's really lovely. You're quite like, I understand this person might have, I mean, there's some good stories.
Yeah. Everyone's like, who's that? I'm like, I'm not telling you.
Oh my God. I definitely was like, I need to ask about who the Whinger is.
The Whinger. Oh, I can't tell you. I actually couldn't. It's too embarrassing.
Can we talk about, because you are very honest about men, and you're very funny. You're like, I'm quite frigid.
Yeah.
Damn it. The book, I've never read the word frigid in a book so much.
A frigid. That was kind of the word that you were called when you were younger. Like, you could either be a frigid or a slut, and they were the worst things you could be.
Yeah, there's nothing in between.
No, nothing in between. But yeah, I think I've realised as well, I was just always relationship girl. It wasn't intentional. It never was intentional, but I just kind of, like, I had a really long-term relationship before I got married, like 6.5 years, and then I got married, and that was probably not that long. 4 years maybe, and then
that's quite long.
Yeah, I know, but then after that I was trying to, like, I wanted to go and, like, be worldly and, like, live my life and go out on loads of dates, and it just didn't happen. Because
be the opposite of frigid.
Be the opposite of frigid, like, get out there. And no, it just didn't happen. I ended up meeting somebody, and we kind of were privately dating for quite a while, and then I met Spencer.
What you talk about in the book is that a therapist pointed out to you that you definitely have a type.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is not, and it's, the type isn't your dad. Like, that sounds a bit weird.
Yeah.
But we do all marry our parents. That's what they say. I remember when a therapist said that to me, I was like, that is gross.
Yeah.
And then when I looked at it and I went, oh my God, I've married my dad.
But you also turn into your parents. Like, even my mom will text me sometimes. She's like, look, you're like me. And I'm like, I know. I can't stop, but it's getting worse.
But you definitely had a type of a man that was fond of a drink.
Fond of a drink, kind of needed, like, a bit of organisation to their lives.
Needed to be looked after.
Needed to be kind of looked after, a bit of a messer. And, like, I remember my therapist being like, will we talk now about your... And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, how do you not know? And I was like, I just don't know. And he was like, you go for the same kind of person. And it was interesting for me to see, but obviously then when I met Spencer, like I knew that I shouldn't go for him. But like I based that on not knowing him. So
You based that off what other people had told you?
I based that about what other people had said about him. And you should really never do that, because I remember meeting Spencer, and like, you've met him. Like, you just kind of are drawn to him. You want to be in his company. He's really funny. He's really self-deprecating. He's quite Irish in that sense. Like we slag each other all the time, but in a nice way. But I remember when we do our podcast, people would be like, why is she so mean to him? And I'm like, I'm not. We're just having fun with each other.
That's how I show him I love him.
Yes. But when I met him, I did base that off him, but I also knew that probably, like, he was quite young. I didn't realise he was that young when we met.
Is he younger than you?
Yeah, he's 36.
So he's like a toy boy.
Yeah, he's my little toy boy. And he was like...
How old are you?
I'm 40 this year.
Happy birthday. When is the big 40?
October. Spenny's been telling me I've been 40 since last year, because he's like, well, and now it's your 40th year. And I'm like, I'm 39. Let me have it till October.
What are you going to do for your 40th? Have you decided yet?
Yeah, because I was going to do nothing. And then I was like, I went to my friend's 40th, and he did something in his house where he just had like someone over making cocktails and like some food. And I thought, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to get like really fun entertainment. Like I've got Davina Divine. She's a drag queen that did our tour with us for therapists with me and Joanne, and I'm going to get her to come. One of my friends is a singer, and then I'm going to try and get like a really fun big name to do something. It's only going to be in my back garden, but still.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm just going to invite literally everybody.
You've got to mark these moments as well.
Yeah, and I think I'm excited about it, because remember being like 19 or 20, you'd think that 40-year-olds were just really old and battered. But then when you actually get to it, you're like, this is a really nice moment. I think in your 30s, you're trying to figure stuff out a little bit more. Because I remember I was divorced at 31, and I was like, basically, that's it. I've ruined my life. I'm never going to have kids. I'm never going to do what I always wanted to do. And then you see how your life actually starts to unfold. And that's why I think it's exciting to move into your 40s.
I'm a few years into my 40s now. I'll be 45 this year. And it definitely gets better and better and better.
I'm absolutely terrified of death. I am. It's one of my things like that I used to have to go to therapy about, because I was so like, it just was on my mind all the time. And it's coming for all of us, which freaks me out. And we're all just walking around like nothing's happening. But I think that like it's a pleasure to be able to get older and to enjoy your life. And I think that there's loads of exciting things to come. Like my kids are growing up. Otto's not even in a buggy anymore. And just watching them, and just your life kind of becomes about wanting them to be happy and to like shape them. And I'm excited for all of that.
Do you think you'll have another one? Because you talk about going for number 4.
I know. It's just now it was a tough old day yesterday. So I'm like, I love kids. I love the chaos. I think that if people came round to my house between 5 and 7, they'd be like, what is this? Like, it's just madness with the three of them, and getting them to bed, dinner, bath time, all that kind of stuff. But I love it. I love kids. And I suppose because I'm a family of 4, I kind of always had it into my head that I wanted 4. I don't know. I'd say if it happens, it happens. If it didn't, it didn't. Do you know what I mean? I'm very happy with the 3 kids that I have, and they're all hilarious and just so different and funny. And Otto's just ruling the house at the moment. But I'd never say never. Okay. Because I just can't make up my mind. Yeah. I nearly got rid of all the baby stuff in December. Nearly. I was offering up my monitors and all that kind of stuff, and then I was like, I might just wait. I'll wait until the summer.
I still have, like, I only had one child, right? And that's done. Like that, those doors are shut, right? But I still have the baby clothes in the basement, because I'm like, what? In what world? Like, what am I going to adopt a baby? Do you know what I mean? Like,
but it's nice for her to have.
Oh, maybe I don't know. Maybe for when I become a grandmother, yes. And she could make me a grandmother in like 6 years' time. Back to you and Spenny. I'm sure your editor said to you, so maybe we need to talk about the future. Like, what are your plans for the future? Like, we need that last chapter.
Yeah,
and you went, okay, then fine. And you did this whole you've done this whole fantasy.
Yeah.
Of, how the end of your life is going to look. Could you just...
The fantasy 5-year plan.
I don't want to the fantasy 5-year plan. So could you just talk us through the fantasy future plan?
Well, the thing about the fantasy 5-year plan as well is because I want to go into fiction writing now. So that was kind of like my little, like, I was able to do that because I've always wanted to do fiction writing.
Whoever your publisher are, HarperCollins, I hope they have like signed you up for...
What did I have at the very start?
For the fiction... Listen, it starts with Spencer deciding he's gay and moving to Manhattan to marry his handsome male lover, Toby.
Toby. Fantasy, yeah, planning into the future. Some people, hang on, let me see, where's the bit about poor Spencer? This is the bit I'm worried about. That and he hasn't even read this, so like he's like, why are you saying I'm gay? Where did I say it? The fantasy future starts right here. I assume at some point my husband will come out as gay and then we really will be best friends.
He's your toy boy. What I love when you write about him is you talk about how one of the things that you loved about him immediately was how wild he was about himself.
Oh, I just think we should all be a bit more Spencer in that sense, honestly.
I totally agree. Talk us through the wild, like talk about how...
He's just really happy in his own skin. He's his own biggest cheerleader. And it's actually I'm like, you know when someone's like, what would you change about yourself? And I'm like, okay, let's go. And I have this whole list of things. It's like, Spenny, what would you change about yourself? He's like, nothing. I think he's just, like, even when I'm like, okay, if you could swap your body with one famous person, who would it be? And he's like, no one. And I'm like, what? Not even like Tom Cruise for the day or something. See what he gets up to. He's no interest at all. He just likes being himself. But he's also not scared of dying either, which I find weird. He's like, no, I'm happy to go in my 70s. And I'm like, 70s? I'm staying around till I'm like 120. I'll have improvements by then.
I mean, I hope that you stay around for a lot longer because
we'll go for our runs and talks.
Oh my God, but you'll have to slow it down.
I'm happy to do that.
I mean, maybe just some walk. Can we just go for a walk?
We're going out for trots. Or a run walk. We'll go for a run walk. I love them.
For a recovery run.
Yeah.
A huge thank you to my new BFF, that's best friend forever, Vogue Williams. I'm off for a walk run with her. Why don't you go and do the same? Maybe while listening to the audiobook of Big Mouth, which is out this week. And if you enjoyed this episode, please pass it on to someone else who might need to hear it. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.